Apologize, Lucas. Apologize, guys. So yeah, so we're saying about a micro macro, and that's just one little tidbit of amazing. Um, was the signal working? Yep. Are we here? Yeah.
Sorry, I think yeah,
I
I can
broke up.
hear you now. Okay.
Yeah. So we were saying on the last just before it cut off the micro macro, all these little dot connectings I find interesting. Almost like I'd say there's a god or a consciousness that's created things for us. Almost like it's all perfect, and we've got to try and figure out all these things, the keys to health, and unlock all the untruths that they've told us, like fasting is bad for you, and all these things.
Exactly. Well, they do say we live in an upside down world, right? So I have been finding interesting that generally speaking, it's not always true, but if we look at the common sense, what the media is telling people, more often than not, you would benefit from going exactly in the opposite direction.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
just flipping it, like don't do this.
Yes.
Should I not do that? Do that. Maybe I should not do that. I'm not saying to like use this as a guideline to live, right? But it's an interesting thing to ponder at least, right?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
we want to do what everyone else is doing? Do we want to do what everyone else is not doing? Or do we want to actually stop to consider instead of just being like everyone else? I think that's a very important realization for everyone to have.
I think that's huge what you just said, and what you just said as well. If people go with that logic, if everyone's doing the same thing, we know that cancers and diseases are rife, and everyone's unhealthy and dying quicker and getting vaccinated and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So if everyone's doing the same thing and the patterns are we're getting unhealthier than we've ever been, then surely it should make everyone think, well, if everyone's doing this, all these things, and we're becoming iller quicker, maybe we should do just something different with our diet, with our health, something, right?
You broke up a little.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. I was just saying, like,
Exactly.
everyone should make the
But
connections between. Everyone should, from based on what you're saying, and I agree that if if the world is going to shit in terms of everyone's health faster, we're denigrating and destroying our health far quicker, and even the media will tell us this. They'll admit stuff like this. Surely we should all make the connection that we're doing something wrong, and we should also make the connection that pharmaceutical drugs aren't working, because we're being pumped with more pharmaceutical drugs than ever. But I mean, that's crazy how people can't make these connections. I mean, if pharma drugs work, everyone should be really healthy right now, shouldn't it?
yeah, I think it ties into what we were talking in the beginning, I think, about writing books and doing these interviews, the comfort zone, right? Because people are basically faced with two choices. Let us say, do we question that these things are not working? And then do I do something about it or not? If I do something about it, it actually requires a little bit of work, right? We have to step out of our comfort zones. We have to make choices. We have to start thinking for ourselves.
Right.
And then, I don't know, comes the new ad on TV and says, hey, now we got the new solution. Just try this. And let's keep doing, let's give it another go. Let's get distracted again. And I think that's a big part too of the entertainment industry,
Hmm.
right? Because it just and the whole lifestyle in general. If you see the average person, like what they stay in traffic for 2-3 hours a day, they work for 8 or 9, sometimes more. Then they get home exhausted and they watch TV. It's like there's not a lot of time for contemplation nowadays in the average life. So we were
Yes.
saying that many people do not stop to think, but I think also many people are not able to.
Good point.
And once they finally can, their lifestyle, which is often a death style, it's like it's gotten them so tired, right? That they're
Hmm.
they're not even. I'm not going to use my brain to question my lifestyle and everything until things get really bad, right? Until the
Right.
pains you're suffering and other problems like just blow out of proportions. Then you see, man, I got to do something after all. But sometimes that is too late, right? Because you've ignored all of the previous signs.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy because it's all interconnected, right? We can see very clearly that something's going wrong in the world and so on. But so many people, like maybe they'll think about it in the weekend, but during the week they're so stressed out and full of things to do that
Right.
they do not even stop to think about it. So it's pretty crazy how this whole lifestyle created by society doesn't even allow people the time and the freedom to think for themselves almost.
You know, that's a really good point, actually. And I think a huge part of this conspiracy that I believe in, where in upside down world, I mean, we are all God, but the people that run this world want us to not know that we are God, but they basically set it up so that what you said, that it's not just a fact of us working for them, which they love, but it's more like it's multifaceted. They take away our time to recognize our own power, to recognize that things might not be perfect, our own time to think, to be creative, to question authority, to work together, to ponder philosophy, to ponder true health, true wealth, all these things. Because all you want to do after a 9 to 5 is just chill with your mates and be silly and have fun. And that's within your rights if you're working a job you don't love, because the system's set up for often for a lot of people to do a job they don't love. And I can speak for it. I mean, Jesus, I've spent many years of my life doing things I don't love. And some people spend their entire lives doing things they don't love. And without that, like you said, without getting out of the system, and sometimes it even means financially, without figuring out ways to get out of the system, you're always going to be in the system.
Um, you broke up without figuring out ways of getting out of the system. You broke up for
That
like
was
10
right near the
seconds.
end. Yeah. So without figuring out ways to get out of the system, because you don't have the time to figure out the
Mm-hmm.
ways to get out of the system, because they don't give you the time to figure out the ways to get out of the
Oh,
system, you're going to stay in the system and you will
yeah.
stay programmed without figuring out the keys to health and the keys to happiness, the keys to community and everything amazing and true growth and
Mhm.
self-awareness. Self-awareness, right? Self-awareness is a thing
Mhm.
that you need time for too, to be self-aware. Right.
Mhm. Exactly. And I think that that also links to one of the most sensible solutions we could propose is that it starts with parenthood, right? Because when does all of this brainwashing starts? Because people have children often unconsciously.
Mm.
They are trapped in this system, like we just talked about. So they do not have time to raise their children. So what do? They send them to school. What do
Huh.
they do in school? They have to sit down. They have to basically regurgitate everything that they are taught. And this whole programmed behavior that people have when they become adults was actually set up when they were children in school, correct? So
Right.
if parents were having children more consciously, ideally having more time to raise them, it would already break down the system, right? Because the children would be aware enough when they were teenagers, 18 years old, to more or less know what they want, know who they are,
Yeah.
know their own capabilities.
Yeah.
But if you were just sent to school, the likelihood of you, let us say, waking up
Mm.
is kind of low.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, like you said, not everyone has the courage to step out of the rat race, so to speak, and
Huh.
seek an alternative path. And I think it gets harder the more you stay there, right? Because you have more committed to it.
Mm.
Eventually, you build a family. You have others relying on you. You have more and more responsibilities that you were kind of forced to take.
Mm.
So the sooner you have these realizations and you decide to step out, I think the easier it gets, right? And that's why if you raise children properly, they will never even fall for the trap in the first place.
Exactly. So true. And I can also speak for myself. I know that if things hadn't gone completely wrong in my life, I wouldn't have the courage to do all the things that you just mentioned. For me. Oh, okay.
You're breaking up for me again.
Yep, I thought I was. I was saying, for me, if I didn't, things hadn't gone completely wrong. I don't know. I do know actually. I wouldn't have the courage to do all the things that I should do in my life, the things that I'm grateful for now, this awakening, this truth seeking that I seek in myself and being around communities, all because it just went completely wrong. And I had the motivation to kick up the bum because I'm like everyone else. I'm not super motivated. I don't think you
Mm-hmm.
are either in a way. I mean, people can look at
Yeah,
us and think we are, but it's just what we've been through that gives us the motivation to do these things.
exactly. Um, and I think, part of it is tied to the health too, because most of our, like, we have so many problems, generally speaking, and when your whole endocrine system and nervous system are not working properly,
Mm.
you have all of these hormonal imbalances, and it is literally like from a chemical, biological perspective, it is difficult to get motivated and everything else. So
Yeah,
that's also a great part of healing, right? The more you heal yourself, the more you actually realize
yeah,
the easier it is to be yourself.
yeah,
So it like we said, the system like it is faceted. This most everything is working against you in society, and you were already born handicapped almost. And it's crazy when you once you realize how many layers of it there are,
yeah.
how many obstacles, let us say.
Yeah, but that's what makes the journey fun, right? Because we got so many things to unlearn. Apparently, it's not just one thing. It doesn't just start with fasting or
Exactly.
diets or anything. It's a million things.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's my internet, but just saying that you're breaking up again.
Yes, sometimes you
I have
fall
no
through.
idea if it's just me that.
No, we both do.
Oh,
You do to me, and
sorry.
I do to you. I'm sorry about this. I apologize, but I'm working through it. We can still get the message across to people, so that's good.
That's what it's most important, I guess. I mean, it's difficult to say because what is most important here? The fact that we're finally having a chat and having fun, or the fact that people might benefit from this conversation? I think it's
That's
both, right?
that's interesting
But yeah,
because
it's good that
yeah,
at
that is
least in the end,
interesting to ponder on. That's an interesting question to ponder
people
on because
will be
I would
able
like
to
to think
enjoy it.
I'm doing this for other people, but
And you do not have to apologize for that. I
no.
mean, it's not like we can control the internet.
No, no, no. But the question you brought up about doing it because for me, I'm doing this for other people, right? But I know there's a part of me that's doing this for me too, because I enjoy connecting with people that are on a level and can understand. We can communicate and talk, and I can learn from you in this interview, and of course in real life.
Mhm.
But also, yeah, I enjoy it in many reasons. It's not just for other people, is it? Everything's for us too.
Mhm.
There's a selflessness.
Yeah, it's like another one of those paradoxes in life, right? I think almost every relevant subject or facet of human life, it ends up being a paradox, right? Because we're doing it for ourselves, we're doing it for others. Are there any separation? We start going that philosophical, those philosophical theories, and you just realize that man, there's no answer. It's both, right? So it's interesting to think about these things.
Yeah, 100%. And then if you go on a deeper level, everyone is you, you're me, and I'm you, and we're all a piece of everything. So when I do something
Mhm.
for me, I'm really doing it for you, right? Because you're me in some regard.
Exactly.
Insane. That's crazy.
No, I feel the same way. Expressed it well. 100%.
Exactly. So in your second book, quickly, what do you talk about in
Mhm.
the foundations of health in the first one that you really, the second book? Can you cover briefly the topics?
Okay, so it was basically 4 chapters. Well, we're talking about so many things. Let me see if it's interesting because now I'm so focused on the third book
Right.
that it's kind of like I have to
Had to scroll back.
refresh my
Yeah,
memory.
sure. Yeah.
Oh, I think I opened up speaking about health in general. And I linked it to several different aspects of our life that not everyone, I suppose, connects with health. Like most people think about physical health when they talk about health, but there's mental health, there's emotional health, there's like maybe spiritual health. And it's interesting because it's not just the functioning of our organs and glands that is health, but I believe our very personality, our thoughts, our emotions, all of these things are all interconnected. So it's easier to be happy when you're healthy. For
Yeah.
example,
Yep.
I believe it is also easy to be more benevolent, virtuous, to be kind once you're happy, right? Because there are so many people angry and stressed out because their organs are angry and stressed out, right? So what we do to ourselves ultimately influences what we do to others. So
Mm.
I think there's a great link into our internal state and our behavior even. And I think I explored that in some of the chapters.
Yeah. Wow, that's
And
deep. That's deep, you said. And just to say quickly too, that you're making me think. So your internal obviously affects your external. So if you work hard at looking after your internal godly temple, that will affect your mannerisms, personality, and external to be kinder and pure. But also, I guess it works the other way too. So if you say are internally unhealthy and don't work on health and you're just unconscious with it, and then you do these kind things, even though you don't feel them necessarily, like I'll just go and be kind, I'll just act like this, I want to be like Jesus a bit more, but you don't care on the temple, your outer would infect your inner too, make you cleaner. Like,
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. But I also find it interesting that I think the way you spoke it, unless you have a general, like a natural tendency to it, I
hmm,
think many people would find it hard, right? It takes a special kind of people to, even when they are unhealthy, to be willing to have these type of demeanor, right? And just be kind to people. It's not everywhere. Everyone knows that in society, kindness becomes kind of rare to see, right? And what I found interesting, at least in my experience, is that when you become healthier,
hmm,
you do not have to even try. You know, it just becomes you you would realize that is part of your own nature, right? So I
yeah,
think it also, we can do what you just said. I agree with it. We can work outside in, inside out, but I also found interesting how our health literally affects our natural tendencies and predispositions.
yes,
So that was a very interesting realization.
so true too. Yeah, your inner kindness, your inner want to connect and to be good to other people is all natural, but because of our physical health toxicity, it's blocked off in loads of people. And the more we work on our inner temple, the more we can easily access what we actually are without trying, because we actually are all these amazing things. We actually just want to be nice and not hurt people and not think bad thoughts and be negative. We don't want those things really.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that this is not like a doctrine or something that we would be pushing on people because it just like it comes naturally. And that's the beauty of it. You know, I'm not thinking, man, I should be kind to that person. It's like it's almost difficult to not be to some extent, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's like our relationship with ourselves basically determines our relationship with other people. It's an interesting way to look at it, right? We have a relationship with our organs, our glands, every single one of ourselves, right? It's like composing who we are. And once we treat ourselves with kindness, then when we learn to love ourselves or remember how to, it just becomes easy to do the same to other people. But like you said, and I think that's one of the greatest values from romantic relationships too. When you love another person, you also want to improve yourself, right? You want to look prettier, I don't know, to be more successful. It sort of inspires you, right? That love vibration, because that is pure, even if you're doing it from the outside. And
Yeah.
once you're tuned to that frequency, so to speak, you also want to become healthier, so to speak.
Yeah, I find
That's
that so interesting. Because like I'll speak for myself. For me, I'm already motivated. I already do good things. I want to work on myself, grow, go through trauma, release as much as possible, do more good to the world. But yes, when I've been in relationships and you're in that love thing, um, it does motivate you more. And I thought there wasn't any more motivation that I needed in my life, but I always access deeper levels of motivation to become a better person faster. What I mean is I have to go faster when I was in love, because you're in love, you think this person is the world and you want to be a better person quicker. It's a lovely feeling.
Yes. And but it's once you experience a similar love just with just yourself, right? I think that it becomes even more universal, right? Because you're not attaching it to a specific person that, well, maybe if you break up one day you'll feel sad and everything. But once you learn how to love yourself, it's very easy to, love everything, basically. Love life itself. So it's an interesting experience.
Yeah, it broke up a little bit, but I got some of that. Yeah, definitely learning to love
Um,
yourself is the ultimate. Something like this.
yeah, I meant like once you learn how to love yourself the same way you would love your loved one,
Uh-huh.
it becomes easier to just love everyone else, love life itself, so to speak,
That makes
because
complete sense.
you're
Yeah.
experiencing love without attaching that emotion to something in particular, so it becomes more universal.
Right. I like that. And that's good. But yeah, because to me, how I explain what you just said is externally, to love something external, when that no longer is there because we live in duality, right? And that might disappear, you're gonna get attached and it's gonna hurt when that's lost at some point. But
Mhm.
you always carry you around whilst you're in this body. It's a constant, right? You are you. So if you learn to
Mhm.
love you, there's no, I mean, apart from death, right, which is the ultimate detachment and process we've got to try and overcome the
Mhm.
fear of death. But yeah, if it's not an external thing you're loving, but just you, then you'll be more grounded in love for everything else because it's just you and you're always with you, right? The only thing that me and you have in common, I guess, is you're always with you in your head and your body, and I'm always in my head and my body. So it's a good grounding, I guess, to love yourself.
Exactly.
It's a really pure.
Yeah, I think it's even the basis, right? Because well, like you said, and I think that happens to many people, right? They break up and they realize they do not love themselves. They just loved that person. So they keep looking for another person to love to experience that again. But if they had learned how to love themselves, they would be fine with or without another person. And once two individuals that love themselves get together, then it becomes even more magical, I believe.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it broke up a little bit, and I think I heard what you said. Yeah, you're making me think a lot, about things.
Uh,
And my brain is really going through the process. So another thing as well, I guess, when you're in love, you get all these hormones, don't you? The love is a
mhm.
hormonal thing. So you get a release of serotonin, dopamine, I don't know, oxytocin, all these things. So they're blasting off and they're going crazy when you're in love.
Mhm.
But what if you can blast these hormones off of happiness by yourself?
Exactly. And I think another word for that that some people use is bliss.
Right, yeah.
When you experience bliss, I think it's almost analogous to love. Like they're two different words, but they're very similar. And I'm talking about like this organic, natural bliss, and not something that is induced to with substances.
Right. Yes, with you. Yeah, yeah.
Once
Organic,
you once you
natural.
experience
Yeah.
once you experience that feeling, it's very powerful because it triggers all of these hormonal changes inside of you. And I don't know. Yeah, I just think it is also what happens to some degree when we write in books, when we're in enlightenment, and right, we're experiencing that love, that bliss vibration. I
Yeah.
really think that
Yes.
that's the key, and I'll be talking more about that actually in the next two books of this series. So
Nice. Can't wait to hear more now. Yes, you're right. I didn't think of that. You're in bliss. You're in flow in books. You're in the bliss state.
yeah, I will talk more about that in the next two books.
Mhm.
Um, what did I say? I'll approach more about this bliss and this emotional and vibrational states and how this connects to health. I'll be exploring that in book 2, I believe.
It broke up in book 3 or 4. I didn't hear the last bit.
In the next book.
Next books. Right, got you. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So my last question to you is, and I want you as well to tell us where people can reach out to your books. But so we covered a bit about your books. We covered a lot: flow state, bliss, love, and we've gone. I like your angles on philosophy. I found it really interesting to interview myself. But is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to get across at the end as a message to people? And if not, that's okay. And just let us know where we can find your books too.
A message to people. Well, what comes to mind is that Greek one. I believe it is in the Temple of Delphus. Maybe know thyself, right? I think many philosophers also said this, and I think ultimately that is the most important thing. We were talking about that at the beginning too. That I believe. Well, at least I want to make it so the core of my message is about self-empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that power within us already, and once we make that connection, once we learn to love ourselves, once we connect to that, let us say, divine intelligence inside of us, then we realize how little we actually need. We realize that we actually do not have to read all of these books and to research all of those things. The more we connect within, we realize that is the shortest path to get all of the answers that we need. So I think it's important to know yourself and to spend time in contemplation and actually do your own thinking for a change instead of just following other people all the time.
Oh, I love that last message. I couldn't agree more. It's the key to everything. So thank you, Luccas, for joining. I'm going to put at the end on this YouTube your links, so we'll have that sorted. But can you just manually tell us quickly as well where people can find your books?
Well, my name is hard to say, so I'm not sure if it will be of much help. But I have a Facebook page.
Right, we'll put the link to your Facebook there. Yep.
Yeah, and I have a link tree on my description. So if you go there and here we go, put on the description, you have like all of the links in the same page. You have the links to the PDFs, you have the links to the Kindle, the paperback, you have my email, you have my social media accounts, a little Telegram channel that I have as a backup. So whatever you are interested in, if you just want to chat, if you want to read my material, you can find everything on that one. That should be on the description box.
Awesome. Yes, we'll put your Insta bio 100% in the YouTube channel. So lastly, I just want to thank you for joining us, Luccas. It's a pleasure connecting with you in this way. And yes, I can't wait for more of your books. Please notify me if I missed on my newsfeed, which I do a lot of the time. Notify me when they're out, and we can even do a 3 and a 4. We'll do it more if you're up for this in the future. But this has been amazing, so thank you.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I should be the one thanking you too, because first, this was a lot of fun. Second, I know you're also having fun yourself. And 3, I know obviously you're also being a very good friend and helping me promote the work because you see value in it. And I truly appreciate that. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I would love to do it again. Yeah, maybe every time I write a book, we talk again, or
That's a
we
deal.
can do whatever.
We'll strike a deal there. Every time you do a book. I'll make that deal if every time I write a book, you interview me.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that would be a lot of interviews.
We're gonna be very good friends.
Yeah, let's work something out. I like the idea.
Yep, exactly. So,
oh, I like that.
And actually, another thing I want to say is it'll be nice to meet you in the real world. So if I'm ever in Brazil, I'll let you know, and maybe I'll see you in the tropics sometime, somewhere, because I'm not in the UK.
Yeah.
So
that sounds interesting. interesting. We'll definitely keep in touch. And
Yep.
yeah, I noticed that. Sounds awesome, man. I'm eager to meet you someday. We'll
Yes,
make it happen.
we will, brother. All right, so let's have Harry with Luccas. Thank you very much, guys.